Hey everyone, it's Shotzi for the Rough Cuts on Sunday again. I hope you've been having a great couple of weeks. It's been very, very busy, so for that I'm so sorry. I'm actually going to take a break from talking about South by Southwest films for this week. I'm going to talk about another movie that I saw in the theater that was presented by the Austin Film Society. And right now, actually on Tuesdays, they are starting up a new series of Janus or Janus films. And the first one that they showed was WR Mysteries of the Organism. This is available on the Criterion Collection. And it's good, but it's really, really bizarre. I went into this movie not knowing anything at all about it. That's generally how I prefer to go into movies. I try to avoid watching trailers for new things at all costs because I just like going in, like no expectations whatsoever, and just enjoying what I see. So this, I had no idea what it was about. And watching it, it's really, really bizarre. I mean, it's good, but it's really bizarre, really explicit. When this film first came out, it was given, I believe, like it just an X rating. Now it's unrated. But I mean, there's still, I don't know. It seems like it would still get like an NC-17 rating because there's very graphic. It's graphic. It's graphic. I'll say that. Anyway, this film, if you're familiar with psychology, the name Wilhelm Reich probably has come up in your studies at some point in time. He was actually one of the favorite students of Sigmund Freud, and he went on to develop orgone theory. Now, with Reich, and this is a very, very simplified version of his studies because he really goes into depth. He was just very dedicated to his beliefs in this. And basically, what it sums into, at least from my understanding, not a psychology major by any means, is that he believed that like things like emotional and sexual repression would lead to mental illness and neurosis, and this could be alleviated by letting go of your emotions and specifically having strong orgasms on like a somewhat regular basis. So the mind and the body was directly related to that. And that was a very, very simplified version of his theory. Now, because of this, a lot of people who were all for him in the beginning, they were just kind of like, okay, you're nuts. And then they just sort of pushed him aside, didn't pay any attention to him after that. But during the sexual revolution, people really start paying attention to his studies, and he started gaining speed, and there are a lot of people who are really firm believers in orgone theory. And one of those people was Dusan Makavejev. I think that's how I pronounce his name. I'll put it up here. And he is the person who directed this film, Yugoslavian director. And when watching this, it starts out as like a documentary on Wilhelm Reich. They talk about his studies. They show people who are trying to put his studies into actual practice in order to help their patients. They interview people that knew him, like his barber, his neighbors, and also other people, such as, I believe it was like the editor for Screw magazine at the time. This is from 1971. And so it starts out as like a legit documentary. And then they start intercutting to this Yugoslavian film about a woman who is like this like communist social. Actually, I'm not sure if she was a communist or a socialist because she talked about both. But she was really into his theory, and her roommate is like this nymphomaniac, and like she's constantly nude and with like this other man, and then they're playing with egg yolks, things like that. But so it's sort of like softcore porn art house with a political statement, like this Yugoslavian portion of the film. And it gets really weird. It gets really, really weird. I mean, granted, it's deliberately done, and it has a point, which I really don't know how to convey. But I mean, it gets bizarre because then, like, you have this political, because like it completely like stops with the documentary portion. You don't see any of that anymore. After a while, it's just strictly this film that's in there. And there's this Russian figure skater who comes in, like the Politico girl. She's really into him. She just thinks he's beautiful, but like he's so sterile at the same time. She's much more like gritty and earthy. And so then like they fall in love, and then there's like murder and remorse, and it's bizarre. This is something that you'd have to watch. You have to see it because I'm not giving a good description of it, but it's just kind of like, it's very explicit. It's very, very sexually explicit. Very much so. Full frontal nudity, both men and women. And it's very graphic, so keep that in mind when watching this. Don't be shocked, because I kind of knew that going in just because of the intro that they gave with Austin Film Society. So don't be shocked when you see like a whole lot of nudity and sex in this, because yeah, that happens. But it's an interesting film. It's definitely worth seeing a couple of times, just to kind of get an understanding, like a full understanding of this. Maybe also reading some of Reich's books. There were a few that he had written, and getting familiar with his theories and his studies, and then watching this. But it's an interesting film. W.R. The Mysteries of the Organism from 1971. Check it out. It's something. I will see you all the next time. Oh, yeah, there's something else I wanted to ask you guys, just in general. And that is, like, one of my friends had mentioned about how last night was the first time he ever went to a movie by himself. Now, in the past, I would never think of going to a movie by myself. But, I mean, so far, I mean, this year alone, like most movies I see by myself lately, simply because I live what a lot of people consider to be like the boonies. So no one ever wants to come down here, even though I tell them, you know, it's really not that far. Anyway, it's something completely different. But, so I see a lot of movies by myself. And this has been a slow film year for me so far. It's April. I've only seen about 200 movies so far this year. But, of those, I've only seen, I think, maybe 7 of them with another person that I was going to the movie with. So when my friend was saying, you know, it was weird, like, going to a movie by myself, you know, but it's really underrated. I really enjoyed it, you know, being there by myself. So, but yeah, I mean, especially in around this area, like, I would go to a movie by myself pretty much every time I go to movies by myself. And there are a whole lot of other people that are there by themselves too. So it's not a weird thing. If there's a movie you want to see and there's no one to see it with, just go to the movie, enjoy it, because it can be pretty enjoyable on your own. So don't let not having anyone to go to the movies with deter you from going to see that movie in the theater and getting that experience. You should really do that. So, with that being said, I will see you guys next time. Until then, have a wonderful week. Be safe out there. A lot of craziness going on this last week. So, I'll see you then. Goodbye.